Coming up on the Q30 Newscast, Q30 sat down for an exclusive interview with outgoing President Judy Olian. See what she had to share in her last interview.
And the town of Hamden held a grand opening for the new Public Safety Community Center in the Hamden Plaza. And the Office of Inclusive Excellence hosted Tribal Council Vice President Sarah Harris for a critical conversation this past Monday.
Also get a look at a historic farm that's been open for longer than America's been a country.
All that and much more coming up on the Q30 Newscast. Welcome to the Q30 Newscast. Thank you for joining us. My name is Connor Core.
And my name is Seb Lopes. It's a special night. Connor, it's your last time on Newscast. But we still have a lot to cover this week.
Yeah, that's right, Seb. We start tonight with an update from residential life. On Monday afternoon, rising sophomores received an email from Quinnipiac's Office of Housing. In that email, students were informed that if they are living in the village suites next school year, that they will now have a 7th roommate.
With the additional roommate, cost of living in village will go down $500. This reduction will only affect students that will be living in the new triple room.
Now, earlier today, Chief Experience Officer Tom Ellis spoke to the Student Government Association as to what came
and I confidentially said to them, here's what's happening. What is your thoughts if you were in my shoes? And so, to a person, I think there were 22 of them, every single one said you should do the triple option.
Now, as we're nearing the end of the school year, it also means we're nearing the end of Judy Olian's time as the 9th president of Quinnipiac University.
Q30's Julia Barcello sat down with the president in an exclusive interview earlier today.
Hello and welcome to the Q30 News Exclusive with University President Judy Olian. President Olian, thank you so much for joining us for one last time before your retirement. So, when we last spoke, you weren't thinking of this as your last year. How are you feeling nearing the end?
Well, first of all, you use the word retirement, and I can't say I use that. I think about it as stepping down and going on to the next phase. And I'll still be somewhat involved with the university and supporting Marie Harden, the new president, the new fantastic president. You know, I'm not thinking about this as my last. I feel like we're going strong towards the finish line, and I feel that we've got a lot to close as we get to my handoff, and it really is a handoff. There's really nothing that's ending, to Marie and to Dr. Harden, who will, I think, take the baton and run even faster and further with it.
Some students expressed some frustrations regarding your op-ed in the Times, considering the cost of attending Quinnipiac. What is something that you could tell them?
What I didn't want people to forget is the long-term payoff in so many different ways, the long-term returns from going to college. Because first of all, your lifetime earnings are appreciably greater by 75%. Relative to somebody who finishes high school. And please understand, the decision to go to college or not is first of all a short-term costly one, and secondly, for people who are professionals in fields that do not require college education, they are doing God's work too, because society really needs them. Well, I appreciate the fact that it sounds a bit harsh to say you can't afford not to go to college given the cost, but the decision should be one that factors in not just the 4 years or even the first job, but the next 10, 20, 40, 60 years, which is when the payoffs occur.
Well, talking about the payoff of college, what do you think has been the most impactful thing that you've accomplished during your time as president?
Well, fortunately, over the last 7 years, we've had quite a few milestones, and those milestones have included some great new academic programs, some student life initiatives that have led to many more clubs and leadership opportunities. We've gone from, I think, about 4 athletic non-varsity clubs to 23 today.
Now, on a more personal level, maybe the hardest question I've asked the entirety of this interview, do you plan on picking up any new hobbies once you leave the university?
You know, I don't. So first of all, I have some things that I'll continue. I have some roles in the state and some other nonprofit and corporate roles. And so I have this suppressed artistic side. I'm not sure it'll be art or drawing. It'll be something like ceramics or interior design. I mean, people have tolerated my touches on when new buildings come and picking furniture and so forth. So I think that will become a bigger part of my life, and I hope it does.
Well, that is all the time that we have today. Thank you, President Olean, for joining us for one last time. And for Q30 News, I'm Julie Barcella.
Thank you, Julia, and congratulations on your graduation. And we'll see you in about 3 weeks, right?
Yes.
3 or 4 weeks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A new campaign has been launched in Hamden to keep distracted driving off the road. The campaign, named You Drive, You Text, You Pay, is a partnership between the Hamden Police Department and state and national driving administrations. Chief of Public Safety Tony Reyes sent a message via email to the Quinnipiac community about the partnership. Some of the penalties for distracted driving include $200 for the first offense, and that penalty increases for the following offenses.
There's progress on the South Quad as the protective fencing has now been taken down. The buildings look to be nearly completed as all windows are installed and the inside is getting some final touches. The outside needs to be cleaned up, sidewalks and pathways need to be laid down, and the grass needs to grow. Construction was meant to be fully completed by this academic year. However, the only building completed remains to be the Grove. Students will continue to eagerly await the completion of the South Quad's 2 remaining buildings, a School of Business and General Academic building.
Now, the town of Hamden opened a community center this past Friday, and it's aimed to make connection with all members of the community and even safe place for children to hang out.
Q30's Evangeline Crossley attended the grand opening with town officials. Here's the story.
2, 1.
Last Friday, multiple community leaders from Hamden came together to open the first ever public safety community center in town. Following a bout of crime at the Hamden Plaza, where the center is located, Hamden Police Chief Edward Reynolds saw a need for more safety in the shopping center.
Chief Reynolds has been a strong advocate of community-based policing, and because of that, we have so much success to share.
Also, with it being next door to Hamden High, the center aims to provide a safe place for children to spend time.
This is going to be a place where people of all ages, especially our young people, can gather.
But as Lieutenant Governor Susan Bysowitz said, the space isn't only made for the young people of Hamden. The center is open to anyone, and the hope is for law enforcement, town officials, and other community resources to interact with the residents of Hamden in the space. Residents even have the ability to rent the center for meetings.
This space is about community. This space is about engagement. This space is about connecting.
Acting Fire Chief Shelley Carter also says she'd like to use the space for things like CPR or AED training. The furniture in the center was actually donated to Hamden by Quinnipiac, and the space was provided free as well by the owner of the Hamden Plaza.
They came in, they saw what we needed, and they opened the doors and gave us whatever we wanted.
With the project being such a community effort, Mayor Lauren Garrett is excited to see how the space will be put to use.
The work that is done in this space is going to be what makes it great.
The Hamden Public Safety Community Center is now open. Anyone can come here to host a meeting or just to hang out. Reporting from the Hamden Plaza for Q30 News, Evangeline Crossley.
Now, Seb, I'll be honest with you, last night was way too cold and way too windy for the beginning of April.
You know, Connor, last time I was on Newscast, I mentioned the wind throwing me around like a beanbag. I was given false hope because I was told it would stop, but the wind has just continued. However, let's see if Jack Bergman has good news for us.
Thanks, guys. Looking into later this week, wind gusts will stay under 5 miles per hour. So if you want, there is a chance for a little bit of cornhole and playing with those bean bags. Today, so far, we had a high of 47 and a low of 30. Heading into tomorrow, it's a beautiful day, a little bit of clouds, high of 52 and a low of 39. And heading into Friday, don't worry, just a little bit of rain as We have a high of 52 and a low of 38. Just going to cool down those temperatures just a little bit. And that's all I have for you for now. But stick around to see my full 7-day forecast and the map of Connecticut. But for now, we have to take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere.
Love the hustle, Cliff. Who are you?
Your lungs.
We're quite proud of you.
Even though you quit smoking years ago, you may be at risk for lung cancer.
Okay. Well, with the routine screening, you can detect it early when it's more curable.
Sounds good, guys. Can I get a little space here?
Biologically, no.
Okay.
Listen to your lungs. Get a routine screening that could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savebythescan.org.
Guys! We have to make a commercial for #that right now. What do we do?
How long do we have? We only had 2 months to do this.
We could explain that it's a pop culture news show that covers everything from movies, music, and video games.
Yeah, and we can also talk about how there's pre-recorded segments that vary from reviews to in-depth discussions.
We should also mention that it broadcasts live every Monday at 7 p.m. on Q30tv.com/watch.
I think that covers everything. Did you guys get that down?
Quinnipiac University has its most recent talk, a part of the Critical Conversations series, hosted by the Office of Inclusive Excellence.
Let's hear from Q30's Andrew Allison, who sat down to talk with Sarah E. Harris.
On Monday, Quinnipiac's Office of Inclusive Excellence hosted Sarah Harris as part of their Critical Conversation series.
Sarah Harris is currently serving on the Tribal Council of the Mohegan Tribe for a second term. She was previously an attorney in Washington, D.C. who represented Native American tribes. One of Harris's key messages was realizing Native American tribes' independence.
We're sovereign nations, and we want to be able to, and we do, take care of ourselves. That said, I mean, we need allies. And, allies are formed by, making friends and understanding each other.
Harris emphasized that people should try and learn more about Native American tribes and their history.
We especially at Mohegan, and I know other Native communities too, welcome folks to meet with us, to understand us, to celebrate with us, and get to know our cultures.
In particular, Harris mentioned that the Mohegan tribe has a museum in Uncasville, Connecticut named the Tanaquidgeon Museum that people should visit to learn about the tribe.
Founders, Gladys and Harold Tanaquidgeon, founded the museum based on the premise, and I quote, it's hard to hate somebody that you know a lot about.
Harris's ancestor, Samson Occam, raised the funds used to found Dartmouth College, and she gave some insight into the relationship between her tribe and Dartmouth.
Dartmouth has made tremendous strides in acknowledging these things and honoring our collective history, and really making sure that folks understand where we were and where we're headed now.
Students can attend Quinnipiac's Powwow event this weekend, as well as visit other places and attend other events around Connecticut if they wish to learn more about Native American groups. Reporting from CCE for Q30 News, I'm Andrew Allison.
Earlier this week, Homera Kaderi held a conversation with students in Eklund 101. A lot of her conversation centered around her work as an Afghan writer, activist, and educator.
Yesterday, Quinnipiac held a panel discussion regarding women's experience in sports, called Leveling the Playing Field. The goal of the panel was to bring accomplished women from across the sports world for an inspiring interdisciplinary discussion. The panel included a former professional basketball player, media professionals, university athletics experts, and critical sports scholars. The event was sponsored by the M&T Bank Center for Women in Business, Office of Inclusive Excellence, School of Business, School of Communications, College of Arts and Sciences, and Athletics.
We have always been conditioned that there is not enough room for all of us at the table. Build your own table, surround yourself with women who will build with you, and you will never run out of space. That is the most important thing that I've learned in the past 12 years.
It's always an interesting time in the political world, and this week was no different.
From tariffs to deportation, Q30's Michael Katz-Flynn has this week's political news update.
Thanks, Evan Connor. Lots of activity has been circulating through the federal government recently. Starting off with international relations, China has strongly condemned President Donald Trump's tariff policies, placing a 34% tax on all U.S. imports in retaliation. The tax will take effect April 10th in response to Trump's tariffs imposed during his return to office, which have continued to affect global markets and bilateral relations. Chinese officials argued that these tariffs were unfair and harmful to international trade stability. In response to China's retaliatory tariff, today the president raised tariffs on China to 125%. Despite the criticisms, markets showed signs of stabilizing after recent volatility caused by concerns over trade disputes. Moving to matters straight out of Washington, D.C. This past Monday, President Trump ordered that the Supreme Court block the return of a wrongfully deported migrant. The case involved a Salvadorian man who was deported after being convicted of a minor offense that authorities deemed ground for removal. The court later found that the law was applied incorrectly, saying that the offense did not meet the threshold for deportation under federal statutes. As of now, Chief Justice John G. Roberts has placed an administrative hold on any further action, as this could set a precedent for reviewing similar deportation cases. And with more from Trump's administrations, United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., unveiled a comprehensive plan to reform the Indian Health Service. His proposal includes increasing funding, modernizing healthcare infrastructure, and improving recruitment of medical professionals to underserved tribal areas. However, Native leaders expressed cautious optimism about his plans, stressing the importance of consulting tribes directly during implementation. The Indian Health Service has previously struggled with inadequate resources, contributing to health disparities among Native populations. Now that's all you need to know for this week's politics. Back to Seb and Connor at the desk.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, and it's a pretty good looking tie. We're taking our second commercial break of the night, but on the other side, we have Jack Bergman back with us for the full 7-day forecast.
Also coming up, we have a financial news update regarding the recent activity around tariffs. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Life's daily battles are not meant to be fought alone.
We're not powerless, so long as we don't lose sight of what's important.
Don't be afraid to seize that moment to talk to your friends.
Cloud, you okay?
Because checking in on a friend can create a safe space.
The first step on our new journey. You coming?
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Seize the awkward. It's totally worth it.
Do you enjoy debating Quinnipiac sports?
That's all flash, no catch. She didn't net it in the back of the net. That's not even a goal.
What are you doing pulling out Ryan?
Pretty, that's like a crossover with a missed layup.
Bobcat Breakdown is the place for you, with debate, analysis, and so much more.
Mate Marinov. He is good, but oh man, is he bad. And
that team is amazing. How do you not put Fairfield Women's College?
Tune in to Bobcat Breakdown every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. on Q30TV.com/watch.
Did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd?
He got a collapsed lung from vaping.
He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Thanks for sticking with us on the Q30 Newscast. I'm Connor Core, alongside of me, Seb Lopes.
Connor, you know what I want to do in the near future?
Seb, I honestly wish I had an answer for you, but I don't.
I want to golf.
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
Yeah, I want to golf. So let's see if there are any promising conditions on the way. Jack, what's it looking like?
Well, Seb and Connor, you kind of have to pick up those putters really soon if you want to get to some golfing, as we're going to have some showers heading into Friday and Saturday. But if you want to golf tomorrow, there's no reason not to, as we have a high of 52, just a little bit of clouds, so perfect golfing weather. Heading into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we've got more warm temperatures, so more golfing galore. Monday's looking like a nice, warm summer day. Now heading towards the map of Connecticut, right here in New Haven, we've got a high of 51 degrees tomorrow, and all around the rest of Connecticut, we've got a mix of low 50s and high 40s. We got that high 49 in New London. And that's going to be it for the map of Connecticut. Back to you guys at the desk.
Now, Seb, you saw those high temperatures just in the low 50s. Yeah. Now, what's the outfit going to be tomorrow for you?
All right, so I think I'm going to go with the shorts, but the most important part of the outfit, a Manchester United jersey and a Manchester United hoodie. Go United.
I'm going to let the Manchester United sweatshirt and hoodie slide for this time, but you're a lot braver than me for wanting to wear shorts in the low 50s degrees. But Earlier in the show, we had Michael discuss China's response to tariffs that the U.S. government has imposed, but that's also affecting people here domestically as well.
That's right, Connor. For more news on the tariffs' effects on the U.S.'s financial landscape, we send it to Emily Katz.
Thanks, guys. United States stocks experienced a significant rebound today after President Donald Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs from multiple countries. The events leading up to today's sharp stock market rebound began earlier this week with a series of tariff-related announcements from President Donald Trump. On Monday, April 7, Trump shocked investors by imposing steep tariff hikes on key United States trade partners, including Vietnam, Japan, and India. These tariffs, part of Trump's reciprocal trade policy, were pitched as a move to protect American industries, but immediately praised fears of a global trade war and sent stocks into a sharp decline. President Trump's pause early this morning temporarily calmed investors' fears and triggered a sharp rebound in the markets. Although at the same time, Trump increased tariffs on Chinese imports to 125%, escalating tensions with Beijing. In retaliation, China announced an 84% hike in duties on United States goods effective Thursday, April 10th. The combination of the pause for most countries and heightened tariffs on China created significant volatility, but ultimately led to a sharp rally in United States stocks by the end of the day. Looking ahead, investors are staying cautious as they await the Federal Reserve's March meeting minutes, which could reveal concerns about stagflation tied to Trump's tariff policies. That's all I have for your financial update. Back to you guys at the desk.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. Now, as we take a look across the country, Seb, there are plenty of news stories in each corner of our nation.
Yeah, Connor, that's right. Fires, disease, and flooding headline this week's stories. Brianna Trachtenberg is here for this week's national news.
Thanks, Connor and Seb. Concerns continue to rise in Texas after a second unvaccinated child dies from the measles outbreak. Upon the governor's request, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has sent CDC staff to respond to the deadly outbreak. Kennedy said in a statement on X, quote, "The most effective way to prevent the spread of measles is the MMR vaccine," end quote. The redeploying of CDC staff also comes a week after layoffs at the agency impacted its response to the virus. The current outbreak in Texas is the largest wave of cases since 2019, which was the worst outbreak in the U.S. in decades. Due to the high number of cases, health officials have warned that America's status of having the endemic spread of the virus eliminated is now threatened. Taking a look at the West Coast, just 3 months after the Southern California wildfires, residents are starting the process to rebuild their homes. California Governor Gavin Newsom has expressed concerns over how Trump's new tariffs will impact the cost to rebuild. In a news release, Newsom said that he is currently looking for new ways to pursue collaborative opportunities with trading partners. While the process of how these trade deals would work is not clear yet, the hope is that other countries will exempt California from the tariffs, making rebuilding more affordable. The wildfires from January destroyed over 18,000 homes and burned over 57,000 acres of land, leaving many stranded. Residents will continue to look for ways to rebuild in the coming months. Finally tonight, moving into the Midwest, last week's intense storms have caused major flooding in several states. Millions of people woke up to flooding on Monday morning, with 9 million people being under flood watch. So far, the spring storms have caused at least 24 deaths across the Midwest and South. Kentucky has been hit the hardest, with having multiple communities be issued an evacuation order and setting a state record for having the highest 4-day rainfall total. As storms continue to approach, 19 river locations are currently in major flood stages as of Monday. Local emergency officials are urging residents to stay alert during this time. Now that's all I have for national news this week. Connor and Seb, back to you guys at the desk.
Yeah, thanks, Brianna. Appreciate it always. We'll have to step aside once again, but when we return, we'll have Anthony Davila in studio to talk big news in Quinnipiac athletics.
We'll also have a cool story about a local farm business, plus a special goodbye. You do not want to miss the end of this week's newscast.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping, and I can't let this happen to my kid. So if you want to talk to your kids, you have to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go.
Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
No, I'm not gambling.
Thanks for joining us. Quinnipiac basketball has been finished up for about a month, but continue to be in the news, Seb.
That's right. There's massive news around the Quinnipiac basketball program and some other programs. Let's let Q30's Anthony Davila tell us the rest.
Thanks, guys. Junior forward Amari Monroe stated on X that he's decided to come back to Quinnipiac for his senior year. Monroe entered the transfer portal following the team's loss to Iona in the MAC semifinals. After serious interest from teams including UConn, Miami, Ole Miss, Kansas, and Rutgers, Monroe commented on the issue saying, quote, "I came back because of my love for this program, this team, this community. It's more than basketball to me. They gave me a home when everyone forgot about me. I'm sticking with the people who helped me find myself again," end quote. The reigning MAC Player of the Year is coming off career highs in every category, averaging 18.1 points, 2.3 steals, and 9.1 rebounds per game. Heading over to the Diamond, the Quinnipiac men's baseball team swept the weekend series over Niagara with 7-5, 14-10, and 9-5 wins. This brings their conference record to 10-5 and their overall record to 16, 13, and 1. The team will look to continue their winning streak going forward with games coming up against URI and Merrimack. The Quinnipiac softball team also had similar success over Niagara with an 8-5 and 9-1 win on the weekend. Their record moves up to 5-4 in conference play and their overall record up to 10-18. They will also look to continue this hot streak with games coming up versus Canisius and Mount St. Mary's. Going over to the field, the women's lacrosse team dominated the Manhattan Jaspers over the weekend with a final score of 15-1. This improves the Bobcats' overall record to 6-6 and their record in the MAC to 1-3. The Delmont sisters contributed 9 of the 15 total goals scored, with Ella Grace Delmont leading the team with 5 goals and her sister Mia following with 4 goals on the day. The Bobcats will look to continue their win streak with upcoming matches against Merrimack and Niagara. That's all the time we have for sports tonight, folks. Now back to the desk with Connor and Seb.
Thanks, Anthony. Now, just west of Quinnipiac's main campus is a local farm that it's been in business even before the United States declared independence in 1776.
The farm has had an everlasting impact on the community. For more on the history and importance of the farm, we have Q30's Sydney Weimer to tell the story.
Nestled on a hilltop just 15 minutes away, Clover Nook Farm has been a family legacy since 1765, from its early days in the 1600s as pasture land to its modern-day success. Clover Nook's roots begin with a man named David French building a homestead on the farm, returning home after fighting the Revolutionary War. His descendants then expanded both the farm's operations and its role in the community.
The first few generations was subsistence farming, so, colonial times, farming to feed themselves first and their family. And back in the 90s, the farm was actually pretty close to getting sold off and developed, but my parents didn't want to see that happen. So my mom, the farm's on my mom's side of the family, she and my dad decided to come back and keep the farm going as best they could, and they slowly transitioned it to a roadside stand, retail produce.
Following generations went on to grow Clover Nook into a thriving farm, introducing self-service stands, a general store, and raising cattle. With the addition of a new farm store and award-winning meat products, current owners Lars, along with his brother Carl, are now driving the farm's continued success.
Summertime, we do on-farm events, like have a food truck and maybe live music to get people out. And then sometimes I'll do farm tours depending on the time of year.
Through generations of resilience, hard work, and support, Clover Nook Farm continues to be an important part of the community. Reporting from Clover Nook Farm, Sydney Weimer, Q30 News.
Now, this week's Bobcat Battle brings us to the Big Apple. New York City seems to love their cats, especially bodega cats. These felines are known for convenience store cats who live in many bodegas and delis throughout the entire city. However, these furry buddies are illegal.
That's right, Connor. State law bans most animals from stores in which sell food, exactly where cats reside most of the day. Bodega businesses could also face fines if these cats are caught near tins of tuna or near toilet paper. Shopkeepers are not happy with the law as they say these cats attract customers. Sydney Miller, a poet and content creator, said, quote, "Ultimately, the cats are a symbol of community building and the special, unique type of connection that happens in a city like New York," end quote. New York City's cat fans will hope a recent petition receives enough votes to fight the law.
Now, a lot can change in 4 years. Freshman year of me would have never thought about coming into this very room on a Wednesday night. I was a sports guy. That's all there was to me. Fast forward 18 months and I was thrusted into a position to lead the news department. There were definitely moments where I looked around and asked, what am I doing here? And trust me, there were plenty. In those moments were some of the best times when it felt like I was the blind leading the blind. I was nervous. Over time, I became more and more comfortable in news, but more importantly, what it takes to learn and achieve one goal as a team. I want to thank each and every one of you in the news department that gave me a chance. To everyone behind the scenes and even Seb to my right, it's okay to try something new. That's how you learn. If you told me 4 years ago that I'd be a news director, I would have thought you were absolutely out of your mind. I owe a lot of who I am as a reporter to this department and everyone in it that saw something in me and many times, honestly, truly I did not see in myself. News gave me that confidence to step into the new environment and thrive. Thank you to the Q30 Newscast for some of the best of friends and memories.
Thank you, Connor, for being an incredible presence since I first entered the media suite. I appreciate your mentorship, support, and encouragement to take on roles I didn't think I was ready for. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have on tonight's newscast. Thank you to all the producers and everyone working hard behind the scenes. Make sure to follow us on social media at Q30 Sports, on Instagram and X, and on our website, Q30tv.com. For Connor Core, I'm Seb Lopes. Have a great night, Bobcat Nation.